Crown has you covered. Start your day with the first word. Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports. The working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
It is midday in the Queen City. Business is booming. Local leaders are making cap predictions, and we're learning on how to go from the emergency room to the boardroom. Let's do lunch. Cincinnati is a city that means business. Fortune 500 company HQs, renowned institutions like Children's Hospital and the Cincinnati Zoo, and letters that everyone here knows: TQL, GE, CVG, UC, and X. It's also a city that's large enough for new ideas to take root and grow. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you're in business. I'm Jack Crumley, and this is The Working Lunch. Hello, this is The Working Lunch. Welcome to it. I'm Jack Crumley. This is our hour-long business show here on The Crown, where we bring you headlines and updates on the activities of local companies, bring you exclusive interviews with local leaders and CEOs, and there are times we try to squeeze in a bite to eat before you go back to face the afternoon. Those are my favorite times. Stay tuned for more of that. Cincinnati business headlines to start us off. Plans are being made as the federal government recently announced that we are getting a $25 million transportation grant to help put caps over Fort Washington Way. That, along with the work to build a new bridge over I-75, is a major change to the view of the city and the region. But to be clear, there is a long way to go before we see action on anything other than the Brent Spence Companion Bridge, and the work there is really just in the preliminary phases. We are hearing lots of opinions right now. Cincinnati Mayor Aftab Pureval spoke on Wednesday about the opportunity that this grant presents for capping Fort Washington Way and how leaders will come together in the name of progress. Meantime, Charlie Luken, who used to be mayor and used to be on the Railroad Trust Fund Committee, told the Business Courier this week that that fund, the Railroad Trust Fund, cannot be used to help pay for the caps over Fort Washington Way. That is his opinion on that topic. We're getting a $25 million transportation grant from Washington, D.C., but that also requires a match of the same amount for this project. The rules of the Railroad Trust Fund say that money in it can only be used to upgrade existing infrastructure, like paving the streets. That is written in state law. Another guy who used to be mayor is chiming in on all this. Let's take a look. That is a tweet from former Cincinnati Mayor John Crumley, who says that Charlie, meaning Charlie Luken, is 100% right. The former mayor says the railroad money is for existing infrastructure, promised to voters required by law. I do think it is worth noting that former Cincinnati Mayor Mark Mallory is not making public declarations about what's appropriate and what's not, as he actually sits on the trust fund board. Now, I'm just a humble host, and a multi-million-dollar construction project is probably a lot more complicated than this, but let me ask you a question. You can see how I'm dressed, right? Suit, tie. If I were to put this cap on, is this a whole new look, or did I upgrade my existing look? All right, listen, upgrade may not be the right word. For the record, the current mayor, Aftab Pureval, said on Wednesday that the proposed caps will not be paid for by the Railroad Trust Fund. But he did say the idea of connecting a new project to something else existing could possibly have the Railroad Fund covering ancillary construction costs. He also says decisions like that are a ways down the road. Other headlines today. We just had Sarah Gagnon on this week to talk about the Cincinnati International Wine Festival, and Kroger has announced that it is expanding the wine department by building out nearly 150 wine shops in store nationwide. This will add on refrigerated sections and display cases for wine, also giving shoppers more options for higher-end wine brands. There will also be a tasting bar with stewards available, which we know that big Kroger locations like the Oakley Kroger have offered some version of for a while now. Locally, these upgrades are coming to more than a dozen Kroger stores. The first one here is opening today in Newport, Kentucky. Checking in on the business of politics, Ad Impact has released its political ad spending report for the year, and Get ready. The projection for what's going to be put on screens in Ohio is projected to now run upwards of $750 million in ad spending. That is up more than $300 million from the agency's initial projections because of just how competitive some of the big races in Ohio have become. We've been seeing many of these ads for months now, even before ballots were cast for the primary back in May. A tight race for governor and a tight race for U.S. Senate now contributing to all that. Certainly those campaigns and political action committees associated with them are spending the cash they raise, but the outside groups are selling out a lot too. Over $85 million alone from the political Senate leadership funds. One other note on political spending coming from CNBC just this morning. As of last month, the two biggest AI political action committees, AI PACs, have spent at least $44 million on dozens of House and Senate candidates, which is just a fraction of the $200 million raised. This is nationwide. They are looking to play a part in how expected legislation that could regulate AI will be written in the coming years. The vast majority of candidates taking money from AI political action committees have won their races so far. And as far as what they want, it's not just about having regulation or not having regulation. One of the biggest issues right now is whether or not there will be a federal standard to preempt state laws governing AI. Election Day coming up November 3rd. Do have a shout out to the biggest university here in the area. The University of Cincinnati is expecting the largest freshman class it's ever seen this coming fall, 8,000 students. And that'll mean total enrollment of 55,000 at all UC campuses. Anyone who has driven by UC in the last couple of months knows that there's a lot of construction going on as the work continues on count them, four new dorms that will house over 1,000 students when that opens next year. That is a more than $300 million development. Turning now to today's Big Bite. We're talking about the business of health. There has been no shortage of headlines over the last 20-plus years about the rising costs of health care and the challenges of private insurance in the U.S. Talking about the Cincinnati region specifically, work in the healthcare industry is one of the main industries that drives employment. Here's what the Cincinnati Regional Chamber had to say in its most recent State of the Region report. Healthcare practitioners making up 38% of occupations in this industry, and these jobs are expected to increase by 7% by the year 2034. When it comes to growth over the last decade, healthcare and social assistance was second to only transportation and warehousing in the Cincinnati region. Demand is high, and it's only growing. I am quite excited that the CEO of the Christ Hospital Health Network, Debbie Hayes, is coming on the show today. It's so easy to get caught up in all the different things that we have in this city that we might take for granted that have been here for a while. Christ Hospital has a really important role in how this area was shaped, going back to not long after that time we talked about before when Longworth was making wine. Come with me now to the late 19th century on a day with lousy weather and some inspiration from just a few hours west of here. Take a look.
On November 22, 1888, a chilly day in the Queen City, a small group had gathered in the home of Mr. James Gamble with an urgent plan. The miserable conditions that have overtaken the city of Cincinnati had become extremely concerning. During the gathering, they spoke of an article written by Miss Isabella Thoburn, an American missionary, about the Chicago Deaconess Home, a home dedicated to caring for the sick and helpless who could not leave the city. Mr. Gamble sent his son, James N. Gamble, to Chicago to speak with Miss Thoburn about developing a deaconess home in Cincinnati. After some inspiring conversations, Miss Thoburn arrived in Cincinnati, and within a week, the Deaconess of Cincinnati established itself in an 11-room house. It was later named the Elizabeth Gamble Deaconess Home Association, in memory of an extraordinarily compassionate woman who pledged her soul to help the needy of Cincinnati. Very soon after the opening of the Deaconess Home in Cincinnati, Miss Thoburn was walking downtown and came across a woman who was weeping on the street. Miss Thoburn stopped to help and learned the woman had just been to the city hospital. She was told she has cancer but could not be admitted because she was from Kentucky. Miss Thoburn took the woman to the deaconess and cared for her in her own room. Prominent members of the Queen City endorsed her actions, and the need for a hospital immediately became apparent. It was then that the Christ Hospital was born. From selfless and fundamental beginnings to comprehensive cutting-edge care, through the last 135 years, our tower has been a constant beacon of healing and compassion for the community. Within the walls of every one of our care centers bear the results and efforts of scores of devoted men and women, giving generously and working exhaustively for a cause which we believe to be worthy of humanity. And for the next 135 years, our legacy of care will continue to thrive, just as we built each brick of the walls, one patient at a time.
That video produced by Christ Hospital. The Christ Hospital Health Network is one of the biggest economic drivers in this area, and you don't get that way without more than a century of patient care and work and innovation. Christ Hospital, also a major nonprofit here. $1.5 billion in revenues, you can see, filed federally, less than that in expenses, more than $1.5 billion in assets. And again, this level of complexity and success is built on decisions that were made starting more than 100 years ago. Speaking of 100, the Christ Hospital has been named one of the top teaching hospitals in the U.S., ranking number 3 this year, according to Premier and Modern Healthcare. It is also consistently ranked number 1 by U.S. News and World Reports. This is a hospital network that has over 8,000 employees, which is a tremendous number of people, all contributing to those top ratings by outside agencies every year. Part of that consistent ranking success is tremendous innovation over the years. Let me give you a brief rundown of some of these innovations. Early on, turn of the century, 1900s, first hospital in Cincinnati to admit a female physician to its medical staff. 1951, first to use a mechanical kidney device, a forerunner of a dialysis machine. 1962, first intensive care unit in Cincinnati. In the 70s and 80s, you had first use of a hyperbaric oxygen chamber for wound healing in this region. National pioneering in coronary balloon angioplasty to clear blocked arteries without surgery. First ceramic hip replacement in the U.S. and first in the city to implant a pacemaker. Here in the 21st century, the Christ Hospital Health Network was first in the city to implant a pacemaker compatible with MRI, and also the first in this area to perform heart valve replacement without open heart surgery. And robots? You bet they do robots. Hit it. That guy's cute. Cleaning robots and surgeon robots as well. Christ Hospital Health Network made an announcement just earlier this month about an expansion of minimally invasive robotic surgery options available to patients with the addition of the new Da Vinci 5 robot. Big upgrade from Da Vinci 4. Those guys right there can do heart, colorectal, and other surgeries in ways that keep scarring to a minimum, significantly reduced pain, and shorter hospital stays. Doctors at the Christ Hospital have performed nearly 17,000 robotic-assisted surgical procedures. We got to take a break, but when we come back, Christ Hospital Health Network President and CEO Debbie Hayes is my guest. You don't want to miss that. You are watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch The Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for the Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
My name's Jacob Tissett, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
Hey, I'm Marissa Contapelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. We are joined, as promised, by the president and CEO of the Christ Hospital Health Network, Debbie Hayes. Debbie, I'm really excited that you were able to come on and talk about all the different things you guys are doing. Thanks for being here.
Well, Jack, thanks for having us.
I want to start out with trying to help people get a perspective on where does it start for you? We went through history and sort of a top-down look at this very large organization, this massive health nonprofit that's in the area. But where does it start for you? What's a way for people that are outside watching right now to have a perspective on what it's like to be the head of such a big organization?
Right. Well, you know, it really goes back to the history that you just talked about, and it is a pursuit of excellence. And so our mission statement talks about that, improving the health of our community by creating value for the people that we serve. And we do that by making sure they have extraordinary clinical outcomes, extraordinary experiences for them and their families, and doing so in the most affordable way so that everyone in this region can get the health care that they so richly deserve.
Yeah, affordability is a big part of what you guys have explicitly in the mission statement, and that seems like that's an ever-present challenge.
Well, and it is, because healthcare is by nature expensive. There's a lot of technology, there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of drug therapies that are coming out, but our mission is to try and make sure that we're doing things in the most effective and efficient way so that we can keep the costs as low as possible.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's the goal. The Christ Hospital Health Network being an independent organization, I would imagine that sort of brings its own opportunities and challenges, pros and cons with it. You've got a lot of other organizations that are consolidated, big health organizations. What are the upsides of being an independent group?
Well, being in an independent organization, you have a little more flexibility to move a little more nimbly. But I'll be honest with you, in the healthcare industry in general, the challenges are the same, whether you're big or small. And so it's just a different scale. But we can move a little more quickly than in some larger organizations just by the nature of the scale and complexity of those particular organizations.
Do you ever have a moment where you sort of look back, and I mean, you know, that sort of brief list of innovations that the organization has had over the years, going back to the start of the last century, and you guys are still doing new stuff. Are there ever times when you like really step back and just marvel at the accomplishment of the people that are with you guys?
It's every day. I mean, people ask me all the time, do you love your job? And I'm like, who else gets to wake up every morning and know that you're going to positively impact some member of this community's life? And so when I look at all those innovations, and there are many more, it's pretty extraordinary what the team has been able to accomplish so that the people in Cincinnati don't ever have to leave this community to get the best health care anywhere in the country.
Yeah. Is it tough sometimes getting the word out? Or, I mean, that's a part of the plan.
It is, and you know, the way that we have communicated over the years certainly has changed. You know, lots of paper, lots of old ways of thinking, and now social media and the internet, and how do you communicate with patients, both when they're your patients and when they're not, is all changing.
That's an interesting idea, that communicating with people when they're not your patients, thinking about ways to get messaging to folks outside of maybe just traditional advertising, but messaging. Here's a group of doctors that just accomplished this. I think we do have one of your recent social media posts about a group of doctors that pulled off the heart and kidney accomplishment that you guys had. That's part of the overall process.
Absolutely. And so, you know, you're referencing, we have been doing heart transplant at the Christ Hospital Health Network since 2022, November of 2022. We've now done 63 heart transplants, and 2 of those were heart-kidney transplants together. First ever in this community. And so how do we make sure that the whole community understands that that is available here in the city and they don't have to go elsewhere? Yeah,
and that's a big part of the overall picture, right? Keeping people here, not keeping them here in the sense that you're holding on to them, but letting them know that there's the level of care that they need that is just available here, and you don't have to immediately think, well, I got to go to a bigger city.
Right. And as the CEO, my goal and our team's goal is to make sure that the community knows that you never have to leave Cincinnati to get the finest health care anywhere in the country.
Yeah, and I think you're in an interesting position. You're in a unique position to have an awareness of that, maybe different than others, because of your involvement with other organizations in this area. You're a part of Ready Cincinnati, the economic development organization, obviously involved with the regional chamber. So you've got that sort of zoomed out view, and then knowing how important it is for people to understand that this area is just as good for medical care and research as any place else is.
Actually, I would say we're better than many, many communities. Yeah. And, you know, we are a community organization. We exist to serve the community. And so everything that we do is all about how do we serve this community in a way that allows people to stay here and live here and play here and work here and never have to leave.
Yeah, which I know that, you know, there's a lot of other outfits that would have similar messaging. Do you guys, how much interaction are you having with other, you know, medical facilities in this region in terms of talking about messaging to people or letting them know that this is a great place to be?
Right. So we work together collaboratively amongst all of the health systems. I am very good friends and colleagues with all the CEOs across this region and elsewhere, because again, there isn't a healthcare system anywhere in America that's not trying to serve the community. And so, yes, we are intensely competitive, which is a good thing,
Sure.
because that breeds extraordinary quality. But we also understand what our missions are, which is to serve the communities. And so we work collaboratively on many projects. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Project Heart Restart. We have raised over $2 million now to put automatic external defibrillators in all patrol cars in Hamilton County, the city of Cincinnati, the 7 counties in northern Kentucky, the 5 counties in southwest Indiana, and we're getting ready to announce next week Butler County, so that every patrol car will have an automatic external defibrillator, all supported by the business community and all of the health systems.
And so that's not just an initiative of you guys. This is a work together. Let's benefit everybody.
Correct.
To
It
have
was
this
started
available.
at the Christ Hospital, and we do that in community with business leaders, but all the health systems have participated, but we're leading those efforts.
What has the response to initiatives like that been? Obviously, everybody's going to be like, yeah, that's a great idea. We want to help.
Well, we're saving lives by working together as a community, and that's what we should all be doing. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, and that's like one of a million different initiatives and achievements and accomplishments that you guys are working on and list. We talked about cost and the challenges of affordability. What other economic headwinds as an organization are you guys, dealing with, expecting in just the coming year? There's always different challenges, which can also then in and of themselves be opportunities.
Right. Well, there are a lot of changes at the federal level, and you can't pick up the newspaper or listen to a podcast or whatever and not hear about the federal government's thoughts on how healthcare is reimbursed. And those changes that are coming are going to be extremely impactful to people. There are going to be folks that had insurance that now don't have it. And there are going to be reductions in reimbursements to hospitals, health systems, and physicians that are really challenging the health systems to be able to provide the kind of care that people need.
Yeah. So, what do you do other than just, is it just let's make the best preparations we can? Certainly, your involvement in other elements economically in this region with the chamber and just having connections in general. There's got to be maybe a little bit of dialogue with people that are representing this area in Washington in some way, right?
Right. Well, we have a government affairs advocacy department, and I meet, as do all the other health system CEOs, with a lot of our legislators to try and help them understand the dynamics of healthcare economics, but it also breeds the need for all of us to sharpen our pencils and get with our teams and figure out how we innovate the way that we deliver care. So you think about things like, how do we provide virtual care to make it more affordable for people to get great access, but maybe do so at a lower cost? We work with our supply vendors to make sure that we're getting the lowest possible cost to buy goods and services, because in healthcare, we are nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
Every dollar that we make goes back into the platform to make sure that we can continue to provide care.
You were talking about virtual care just now, and you've been, I think, in a really unique position to see the way that healthcare has changed, specifically when it comes to virtual doctor visits and telehealth. How has that changed things just from what you knew beforehand to the last, 6 or 7 years?
Well, it's pretty extraordinary when you think about it, because it increases the ability for people to get care without the hassle, right? There are some people that it's very hard for them to get to a physician office,
Yeah.
and there's some that will never get there unless they have the ability to do that. What we want them to do is have access to providers in the appropriate care setting so that they're not always coming to the emergency room because they have no other option.
Yeah. And then that frees doctors up to see more patients on a regular basis, maybe see folks who are in worse shape than if you just maybe got a cough and let me log into a call and tell me, what does this sound like, right?
Right. The other thing that we're doing is working a lot on preventative care. So there's a word called precision health, precision medicine, that 5 or 6 or maybe 8 years ago, people didn't even know what that word meant, which is we are doing blood tests now to understand what your own genes do in terms of how it responds to treatments.
Oh, wow.
Well, we change medications now based on those tests. It wasn't available before, so it makes medications more effective in treating certain disease processes.
Yeah, boy, that's the innovation is just crazy, and that is there's an educational element to all of this.
All of this, and so as part of our mission, we love to educate the next generation. So we have partnerships with many of the local universities. The University of Cincinnati, we're helping to support Xavier University as they bring up their new osteopathic College of Medicine. We're partnering with Miami University to make sure that we are training the next generation so that when I'm ready to retire, there are people coming behind me that have the latest and greatest and have a workforce that's there to support their needs. And then the other thing at the Christ Hospital Health Network, we have what's called the Carl and Edith Lindner Cardiovascular Research and Education Center, where we are doing cardiovascular and other research in oncology and orthopedics to bring the first in man, the first in the country, and oftentimes the first in the city to this region so that people get the finest care before anybody else.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's great.
That is the goal.
You mentioned a bunch of different universities, and we do have to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about Debbie Hayes' specific journey, which I believe involves attendance at just about all of those different universities in some way or another, going from the emergency room to the boardroom. More on that when we get back. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is The Crown.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the first word. Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports. The working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
My name is James Rapine, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining the Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, A History of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word right here on The Crown.
everything it takes to be number one for you. What does that mean? It means we are all on one team, on one mission, sworn to do everything we can for you to receive the highest level of care in ways you never thought possible. It's providing groundbreaking, life-saving treatments offered nowhere else in the country. It's fighting to provide you with affordable health care and guiding you through your journey so you never feel alone. Everything it takes means collaborating and partnering with the best physicians, clinicians, and researchers in the country to assure no stone is left unturned and you never have to leave home for top care. Our commitment to everyone, inside and outside our walls, is to be here and be the best for you and your family. Because you are our family. It's why U.S. News and World Report has ranked us the #1 hospital in the Cincinnati region for the 10th year in a row. A decade of excellence in compassionate care and superior outcomes. And that is what it means to do everything it takes for you.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. That's a little promo video from the Christ Hospital Health Network. I'm joined by Debbie Hayes, who is the president and CEO of that organization. Debbie, your journey is from being a nurse, a student nurse, right?
A student nurse aide, yes.
To now being the president and CEO. Is this a story that you get tired of everybody wanting to make a big deal about? I feel like this is fascinating, but I mean, you've probably told this a million times.
I have, and I love the story because it just goes to show what and how important this organization is, because many people would have never had the opportunities that I have had, and I've been in the right place at the right time, and I've been able to make a difference, but not all organizations would allow that to happen. And I think it's just extraordinary that we have a company that promotes from within as much as we possibly can. And I've been the recipient of that growth and development, and it's just been an amazing ride.
Yeah, truly. I mean, starting out on that student nursing side, going to school within the Christ Hospital's nursing program, right? The in-house nursing program, which then ultimately led to going to UC, going to Xavier, going to NKU as you worked your way up in the organization.
Yes, my father used to ask me all the time, "Are you ever going to graduate?" And
That's a good dad question.
I was a critical care nurse by background, but I needed to learn more in order to serve the organization well. And so the wonderful universities that we have in this community had great programs, and I sprinkled it around a little bit, but it's been lovely.
Do you, is there any effort, I mean, obviously you're really busy now running this whole thing, but I mean, is there an ability for you to be able to keep in touch with some of those other elements of the jobs that you had before doing the nursing stuff and other technical elements or organizational elements?
Well, if you ask the team members that we have at the Christ Hospital Health Network, they know that Debbie's coming at some point. I go visit patients every day to make sure that...
You go visit patients every day?
Every single day, at least 3 or 4 patients every day. Or I go visit an office, or I go, down to our central sterile and supply area to make sure that I stay in touch with what's going on in the health network.
And that's for you specifically to flex some of those old nursing muscles.
Yep, and I connect with the team members that we have. I connect with the patients, their families. I can understand what we're doing well, understand what opportunities we might have to be better. And then obviously my work in the community helps me keep in touch with what's going on across the greater Cincinnati region.
Yeah, is it hard, or is it just something that you're used to having built up to this point in keeping your ear to the ground on that sort of thing, keeping a finger on the pulse, medically speaking?
Well, but it's important because, again, we're here to serve the community, and I need to understand where we are doing a really extraordinary job, where we're not, or where the healthcare needs of a particular community are not met. So we're getting ready to expand, and actually we're about to open and expand our Liberty birthing area. We're going to double the capacity there because of the tremendous need for mother-baby care in the Liberty Township, Westchester area. We are building in Union, Kentucky, and in Cold Springs because the community is demanding to have a choice for how they and where they get their health care at.
Well, and those are areas that you just mentioned that have seen significant population booms, a lot more commercial development, residential development. Those bigger suburbs that used to be really rural are now really seeing a lot of growth.
Absolutely, but the other thing is we never forget the core. The main part of the health system sits here in downtown Cincinnati, and we're not going to abandon that. But our strategy is to have a hub and spoke model so that the very complicated things are done at the health system's main campus, and the things that are a little bit easier and happen a little bit more frequently are closer to people's homes.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the strength of being the health network, right?
Yes.
You have an interesting bit in your career journey also, and this is something that you and I have a little bit in common in terms of, I believe you were named interim president and CEO in November of 2020, which was probably a really fun time to move into leadership in the medical field. What was that like for you?
Well, to be honest, Jack, a bit terrifying, right? So I was the chief operating officer at the time. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was now the interim CEO.
I mean, that was us going into our first winter.
Yes. Yes, it was quite crazy. So I was trying to figure out, you know, just like we all were in healthcare, how do you just get through the day, let alone how do you lead this ship through the worst pandemic since 1912?
Right. Yeah, the whole world was sick. You're in a leadership position, and you know how hard those nurses and doctors are working on the different floors.
Right. But, you know, here's what I always say about the Christ Hospital Health Network. It is all about the team.
Yeah.
And what I watched during that time is extraordinary team members all rallying around the cause to make sure whatever the challenge of the day was. And sometimes we were changing protocols hourly, sometimes daily, because supplies weren't available or whatever it happened to be. And they were always right there. What can I do? How can I help? We had people who in the health network did jobs that they never thought they would be doing because we needed them to do it, and they put their hands up willingly and said, I will.
Does your perspective on how you came up and the work that people like that are doing, does that inform any kind of ability to offer care to your employees in terms of dealing with stressful times like during COVID, or even when there isn't a global pandemic going on?
Right. You know, healthcare is very emotionally challenged, and because you're dealing with people's health. And so they have circumstances outside when they come to whether it's a physician office or to the hospital, that we have to be in tune with that. So we have to take care of the people so they can take care of people. And so we have a lot of wellness initiatives. We have what we call Schwartz rounds, so people can get together and talk about their challenges. We have lots of fun where we can have fun to try to make sure that people stay energized. We feed people a lot, right? But it is emotionally challenging because you want to give the best, but you can't give the best if you aren't the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be able to be operating at full capacity to be able to help those that are definitely not feeling that way. What is it like for you in terms of being the president and CEO and the lessons that you learned coming up as a nurse and in the technical side of things? Are there things from that time that inform your leadership decisions or policies now?
Yes, absolutely. So what I meet with all the new team members every Monday when they come. And I say this to them. First of all, we have to keep the main thing, which is our mission. Why do we exist? Secondly, we always need to work with shared determination to overcome the challenges. And the third thing is, the third thing is that every member of our team is valuable. It's just like our great sports teams, right? Everybody from the water person to the pitcher to the catchers to the quarterbacks, right? But it's the whole team that has to come together to provide for the community. And then the last thing is what sometimes gets lost in it is people get lost in the day-to-day. We are making a difference in people's lives every single day. And that is a great responsibility, but it's also very rewarding.
Yeah, that's a lot. And keeping track of a lot of that and then looking to keep that going, you know, finding momentum and building on the innovation and the teamwork in terms of what's to come. You guys have a new partnership with Miami University in terms of training future healthcare professionals. Concerns about doctor shortages that I know I've seen over the last couple of years. What is that like for you guys on the educational side and trying to make plans for the future?
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. So Northeast Ohio Medical University, we call it NeoMed, they call it NeoMed, and Miami University and Xavier, right? So the predictions for healthcare shortages in Ohio and across the nation are fairly extraordinary. Hundreds of thousands of physician shortages nursing shortages and other technicians. So our philosophy is, if we train people early in their careers and they understand the value of the environment in which they train, then they'll stay here in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So the more that we train, the more likely we are to not be on that curve.
And that also fits in with things like the mission of the regional chamber, where we want to make this the area that's the best for people to live in and to work in, because we want to keep attractive jobs and have people want to stay here and build their careers here versus maybe just going to school and then going to a bigger city.
Exactly, and Cincinnati is a great place to live. But as we think about that, if you come to this area, you want to have great schools and great businesses and great health care. And so if we can make sure that we can do our part, then Greater Cincinnati will thrive.
Let me ask you this, and I feel a little bit, I don't know if I feel weird bringing it up. Is it weird for me to ask you about your leadership philosophies and lessons that you have learned over the years, specifically as a woman in a leadership position? It's 2026. The idea of making a big deal out of a woman in charge of something feels a little played out. But, I mean, are there elements of, are you looking to reach out to younger women on their way up? Does that inform any of your decisions in this position that you're in now?
Yeah, it's not a weird question. Only 15% of the CEOs in healthcare are women.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so it's our responsibility to make sure that that percentage continues to climb. So I taught at Xavier University for 10 years to try and help people develop. We are preceptors for many of the local universities to make sure that we are bringing people along in their careers to encourage them to be part of the healthcare ecosystem. And we have programs within the organization that try and help people understand what their career paths and their development is. Whether you're a man or a woman, yeah, it's still really, really important that we are developing the next generation. And then, like, in our physician contingent, we have a thing called Women in Medicine. And so it's a very vibrant group of female physicians, because years ago, it was probably 80-20 men to women. Sure. Now it's 60-40 women to men, yeah, in medical schools. And so the next generation will be many more females than there are gentlemen.
That's got to be really gratifying, for knowing the work that you've put in over the years.
It is. And what I love to see is that everybody's working together, right? And people do things differently, perhaps, but the perspective of both is really important.
Yeah. We've got about maybe a minute left. And, we talked about obviously running this organization and your involvement in a lot of different boards and organizations here in town. Do you have any time to do stuff for you? What do you do for fun?
Well, everybody at the Health Network knows I'm a huge Bengals fan, so you'll find me at all the football games. I love sports. I grew up with two brothers, so that is part of just what I do. I love the arts. I am the chair of Arts Wave right now.
One more thing.
You could find me at the Aronoff on any particular night or at a concert, and I love to read and I love to bike. And I love to spend time with my family.
One thing I want to dip into before we go, the Christ Hospital has a new website that you guys announced just maybe about a month or so ago. That's a kind of a big deal. It's
a big deal because, again, how do we interact with our community, right? And we are trying to make it easier for people to access whatever they want or need from us. And how do we help communicate in a more effective way? And my PR and marketing team has done a great job, and I hope that the community loves it as much as we do. Yeah, that website, thechristhospital.com. Debbie Hayes is the president and CEO of the Christ Hospital Health Network. Debbie, thank you for coming on the show. It was really great talking to you. Jack, thank you for having me here. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Working Lunch after this. Stick around.
We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio. Metcalf with the fan favorite to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. The Cincinnati Bears score. What
Cincinnati sports fans are the best. Loyal, passionate, second to none. This city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapine, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. We break down the biggest moments and set the agenda for the city. Marissa Contepelli and Jacob Tissett join me to bring the insight and energy you need to start your day. The conversation starts with First Word. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the west side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. We are wrapping things up. Let me try this toss again. Ooh, a little bit better. How's the hair? All right, not bad. Welcome back. We do want to let you know about the Cincinnati Reds, the Reds Community Fund Telethon, presented by PNC. That is going on this evening. Game coverage on Reds.tv starts at 7 o'clock. That's for the game, but that'll be preceded by a special 1-hour Reds Live pregame show. That starts at 6. It's going to highlight many of the baseball and softball outreach initiatives that the Reds Community Fund has. You know, the Reds Community Fund is always out there doing all sorts of stuff for kids and getting them involved in sports in the community. The Reds Community Fund's renovation and dedication of a new ball field in South Ripley, Indiana. Youth baseball and softball development through the Reds Little Sluggers League. There's a lot going on. Here's that stuff you just saw in that picture. Fans are encouraged to donate at reds.com/telethon, or you can donate at the ballpark if you're going to the game tonight. You can get the All-Star Bundle, which gets a donation of $125. You get that. There's also the MVP package, which is if you donate $250. A lot of different options. Again, reds.com/telethon. That is this evening. Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate Christ Hospital President and CEO Debbie Hayes coming on. We're back at it again tomorrow, wrapping it up on a Friday, checking out movies and more for the weekend on the way in July. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.